How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're making a video showing you guys my found footage physical media collection. You guys really liked when I showed you my shark movies, and I thought I have a ton of found footage movies as well. I really love the subgenre. Why not show you guys my collection? Before we dive into that, a few rules. One, I'm going to have to break this up into multiple parts. My found footage collection is really big, and it's of course always growing, and I'm thinking right now probably 20 items at a time. They're going to be mainly DVDs, but with some Blu-rays thrown in there, but also I want to do a range in what I show you in each video. Some big mainstream stuff, some underrated stuff, and some really obscure stuff. But also some stuff, I mean, the found footage boom happened at the same time that there was the streaming boom, and in turn, a lot of classic found footage films don't have a great physical media release. I mean, the DVD for Creep is actually quite rare. So if you don't see something you really like, one of those might be the reasons. It may be in part 2, but still, leave it in the comments. I really am working on building a big list of found footage movies to look out for, and I can always use recommendations. Alright, I think that's the end of this intro. Let's switch to the close-up camera and show you guys the movies. Alright, here we are inside the castle taking a closer look at my found footage DVD and Blu-ray collection. And if we're going to be talking about found footage, it only makes sense that we talk about the Blair Witch Project first. This may not have been the absolute first found footage movie, but it defined it as a genre. It had viral marketing, and so many people back in the 90s thought it was real. And it feels real, and it's super creepy watching these filmmakers get lost in the woods. There's the poster with Heather there in that famous shot, the stick man and the woods above her, Artisan, Special Edition, and there's the spine. But yeah, in this one, you get a group of filmmakers that go into the woods making a documentary about the Blair Witch. Well, they're never seen again, but a year later, their footage was found. And that's where we get the term found footage, right there from that poster. Cool background with the big stick man. There's the information and the special features. Crack it open, and we get this cool inverted shot of the woods. Really, really cool. But not only was Blair Witch one of the first, but it's one of the best. And because of that, I knew I had to get an upgrade. I was at Walmart, and they had this copy of the Blair Witch Project on Blu-ray. And Walmart's really good about getting exclusive slip covers. And they made a whole series of horror films with these super glossy black and red slips. And this looks really cool. Like, the whole slip is the camera screen. And we're seeing the stick man hung in the air in, like, red night vision. That's pretty fun. There's the spine, and there's the back. Now, if we slide this out, we can see that it's just the regular Blu-ray underneath it. But if we flip it to the back and look at the special features, the Blair Witch Legacy and the alternate endings are new to me with this release. But both of them do feature The Curse of the Blair Witch, which is a Sci-Fi Channel tie-in mockumentary that is, I think, a essential bonus feature. So first two items are the Blair Witch Project. Now, it is worth noting that the Blair Witch did have a pretty underrated sequel with Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2. Go check it out if you haven't. It's a little different than you might expect, but it's not found footage, so we can't really talk about it here. But we can talk about the third one, just titled Blair Witch. And I do love this cover, the red and the black, looking up in the trees and seeing the giant stick man above you. That's pretty cool, but sadly the movie is a little bit underwhelming. Flip it to the back and we can see that this is about Heather's baby brother looking for his sister, but sadly the movie is very formulaic, very studio mandated sequel feeling, and yeah, the digital cameras are too crisp. They focus on exactly what they need to, and in turn it doesn't really feel like found footage, it feels like a movie. And yeah, you do see too much in this movie. It came out in 2016 after the found footage boom had lost a lot of its momentum, and to get a B-side that was a sequel to one of the greatest found footage movies ever, yeah, this one doesn't have the best reputation. It's not terrible, but not the classic the first one is. But let's jump from one big found footage franchise to another and take a look at Paranormal Activity. Yeah, Blair Witch determined the found footage genre, but Paranormal Activity really made it mainstream. So many people saw this, and it was a ghost in your house done realistically, and so many people said this movie made them feel scared to be home alone, that the ghost might be out there. It's really, really cool. But yeah, found footage done in a regular normal house, and just, yeah, no, it got to people. But this is a Walmart exclusive cover as well, another exclusive slip, and we get to see Katie and Mika from the first movie. That shot of them in their bed and would like fast forward, and the idea of what's going on when you're sleeping, that was really iconic. The second movie introduced the security system with those nice cold wide shots. That's pretty cool. For whatever reason, the third movie is actually down here in this corner. That's the one where they go back in time to the 80s, I think it is, and it's a prequel, and it's the best one in the series. Some really cool cameras in there. 4 is sadly generic. That's probably the worst in the series. 5, the marked ones, was kind of cool, but it really didn't feel like a Paranormal Activity. The young kids and the moving camera made it feel more like a VHS movie. It's fine, but yeah, it just feels a little too different. And then part 6, the Ghost Dimension, that's the one that killed the franchise for a while. Finding a camera that can see the ghost, and it being shot to be a 3D movie, and it's a Christmas movie. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheese fest. Not the worst thing ever, but you can see why it kind of put the franchise to bed for a bit. The back has information on all the movies, and if we slide this out, this is what it looks like without the slip-on, and it is blue, a lot of the same pictures, but we get the Paranormal Activity symbol there. There's the spine, and again, information about the films on the back. Crack it open, and each film luckily gets its own disc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, after these 6, the series did go dormant for a few years, but it would eventually come back with Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. And because of the pandemic, this one came out on Paramount Plus streaming services, and it's not the best thing ever. Much like the Blair Witch reboot, the footage in here is way too clean, and it doesn't feel super real, and it's so unrelated to anything that happened before. Basically, this girl was adopted, and she finds out that her family is this Amish-like cult, and she goes there to try to understand who she is and what happened to her mother. And there's that church that she's not supposed to go into, and the woods show you the demon's face. But yeah, other than the night motif, you know, like where it counts the nights, and the fact that it's found footage, this has relatively nothing to do with anything before. And if they had established how this new spirit is related to the old one, that could have gone a long way. But yeah, too clean and too unrelated. However, the disc does match that gray motif that the other ones have. Put that there. Right along to another big one, and that is The Houses October Built. This one was really cool because it is mostly a real documentary until it isn't. It's about Halloween haunted houses, you know, the kind they set up and scare workers jump out and try to scare you as you go through them. And a lot of it is just real haunts in the South, and going through the houses and talking to the haunt workers. And yeah, most of it's real, and every now and then you'll get a cool scare or a cool story from a haunt worker. And again, mostly a real movie until they find the one group that's going a little bit too far, and we get this scary baby doll character that hides in the background at most of the haunts. It's a pretty cool movie. Love that orange cover, and here's some photos on the back. Slide it out. Same as the slipcase, clear case. And then when we crack it open, there's the disc, and we can see some ads. I actually have, like, I think half these movies. I remember Lovely Molly being pretty good. Now, after that, they did make A House is October Built 2, and this movie does have a bit of a cult following. I didn't think it was as good as the first though. The documentary got a lot of attention, so in turn, bigger haunts reached out to them, and why some people are really impressed to see like a large-scale zombie run or something, I don't know. To me, it feels a little corporate. Also, the plot with the group that's taking things too far is not as good, and there's a stupid revelation towards the end. I know some people like this. I think it was okay, but it is worth noting that they said they wanted to make 4 of these, and we've been stuck on part 2 for a while, so I wonder if they're gonna do that. I love the blue cover. There's the baby doll character in the front, spine, and we flip it to the back. There's some pictures and the bonus features, and it looks like Baby Doll made a friend so she can impersonate the characters from The Shining. Slide it out, no clear case this time. And there's the disc, same cool blue artwork. Slide that back in. Anyway, it is worth noting I did find another mostly true documentary. We're going to do a bit of an obscure one here, but recently I talked about Sandman. Sandman is a mostly true documentary about the indie horror scene, and they go and they talk to real people that make indie horror movies and show you some really cool over-the-top clips from those movies, as well as talking to professionals like psychiatrists and stuff about why people may want to watch raw and extreme stuff. A lot of it is simulated snuff that they're looking at, but of course they find the one guy that's taking it too far. But yeah, I didn't know too much about these movies going in, so to get to see the clips and to get to see the interviews, like, the real documentary portion was really fun. But that being said, I feel that when you find the guy that's really taking it too far, he should have taken over the movie, because I mean, forget talking about indie horror now, you're trying to track down a killer. But yeah, the plot in this one isn't as strong, although I will say the actor does blend in with these indie filmmakers pretty darn well. And there's the disc, same as the front. After that, let's go into one with a pretty good cult following, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. Oh boy, this one's cool. This is a real building. I don't know if they actually shot there, but there is a real haunted asylum, and I love this staircase. But this is a group of ghost hunters, and they're going to be going in there trying to get a bunch of views on the internet, and they have a whole bunch of like cameras on them, and you get cool gags like a 360 camera or a camera pointing at each of the ghost hunters' faces, and when one of them starts to lose it, you get one of the creepiest found footage shots I've seen in a while. But yeah, going in there, everybody starting to get oppressed by these ghosts, this is a really good, really creepy one, and one of the best ghost hunter found footage movies. I thought it was pretty cool. There's one of the doors. I think something really bad happened in there, and an ad. Anyway, after that, another really good, chilling, and creepy one, and that is The Last Exorcism. Oh man, this one's good. It's called The Last Exorcism because you get this guy who was a fake exorcist, and he's like, I need to come clean. I'm gonna get this documentary crew. I'm gonna do one last exorcism and show everybody how I fake it. But of course, he's found the one house that might be real. And you get this cover. I love this black and white image of her bending over, super grungy and creepy. And yeah, the whole movie, because they're in this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, has such a good creepy tone behind it. I really do love it. And Eli Roth actually produced this one. That's pretty cool. There's the disc with the girl that's supposedly possessed, and I have to say, she does a really great job at going from normal to creepy. She's a really good actor there. But yeah, a really good, really creepy movie. And much like Blair Witch 2, it did have a sequel. However, the sequel is not found footage, so I can't talk about it here, but that sequel isn't very good, but at least check out part 1. Alright, let's tidy this up a little bit. Now, let's move on to a pretty new one. This is Late Night with the Devil, put out by Shudder, and this one's really cool. You got David Dastmalchian as a late night TV host back in the 70s. It's Halloween, and since his ratings are falling, he decides to get a possessed girl for a Halloween special, and they're going to have the possession on live TV. And you also get like a psychic and a debunker. they make it like it's newly rediscovered master tapes and behind the scenes stuff, and when they call cut to go to a commercial, you get them all breaking character and they're behind the scenes and they're like, what the heck was that? Did you plan it? And I love this cover with the eyes, and this is actually a soft paper slip. It's really, really cool. Flip it to the back, we get some summary, some pictures. There he is with the spiral, special features. It's pretty fun. Slide it out. Under artwork is the same. And there's the disc, but behind the Shutter ad, we get a special piece of bonus content, and that is a signed publicity photo from the host. Now, obviously, it's not a real signature, but I love this is such a clever idea to do a publicity photo. It's a bonus feature that's just a piece of paper, so it's got to be super cheap, but it's a fun little relic from the show that they put in there as a physical item, so I gotta love that. Alright, it's been a while since we did some Blu-Rays, so let's talk about some Blu-Rays, and let's go to Hangman. Hangman was a pretty fun one. Basically, you get this guy that breaks into a family's house while they're away on vacation, and he sets up a series of cameras, so he's watching them, and he's sneaking around the house while they're not there and, you know, messing with them, and it's pretty fun. It's found footage from the killer's perspective. Now, there are things like him drinking the orange juice out of the carton and messing with them in somewhat immature ways. That's a little silly, but I do like the whole idea of shifting perspective and the idea of someone hiding in your house, and there's the disc with the noose there. Yeah, not a perfect movie, but still definitely an underrated one. And then after that, we got two ones in space. Let's start off with Apollo 18. I really love the astronaut on the cover doing the classic Paranormal Activity drag, but this one says, there's a reason we've never been back to the moon, and it says that on paper the Apollo 18 mission was canceled, but what if it wasn't, and they just never showed us the footage, and now the footage is getting out, and it turns out these astronauts went to the moon on a secret mission, and when they got there they found some crazy messed up stuff. It does a good job at mimicking the moon landing footage, but at the same time, it's a bit hard to relate to because it's a lot of astronauts doing space chatter, and we get to see a whole bunch of, you know, moon landing style footage. It nails the atmosphere, but again, it's kind of hard to get into it, and it does have a few slow points. But overall, if you want something that really feels like going to the moon, you know, it really feels like looking at the old footage, it nails it in that regard. But yeah, not the best thing ever or anything. After that, a more futuristic take with Europa Report, and this one says, what if we went to Europa because there's water on that moon, and there might be life there? And this one, we actually are with the astronauts going all the way deep into space, but because the audience knows we never really went to Europa, and it never says it was like covered up or anything, I think the idea here is that we're using found footage to try to say how this would be done realistically rather than trying to fool the audience or anything. But that being said, there are some weird editing choices in here, like skipping over a large part of the trip, these out of place interviews, and like cutting back to, you know, like before someone died after talking about him dying. Yeah, I don't know what was up with the edit here, so it isn't the best. Again, it kind of drags like the other one did, but it is interesting to see like a realistic take on what it would be like going this far into space. And there's the disc with their ship there and the planet. After that, let's talk about a really, really fun one, and that is Troll Hunter. Oh man, this one would be a really fun video game. Basically, you get this guy, he's approaching a documentary film crew because he says he's a government-hired troll hunter. Trolls are real and they're a nuisance, and he has to go and hunt them down. And you get him in his Jeep, you actually see big trolls, and they're super fun. He has to like shine lights on them to turn them to stone, and he has his whole little system for killing them. It's really cool. I love that they, you know, just kind of embrace the goofiness of it. And yeah, seeing the CGI trolls, it's, you know, again, it's not gonna fool anyone to think it's real, but it does sound so fun going out there and doing a bit of troll hunting. And then there's some fun ad-lib, like they see a valley full of rocks and they just make up a story about the big troll war that happened there. And there's a whole bunch of lore as to, you know, the different types of trolls and stuff. It's a pretty cool movie. Alright, after that, a bit of an obscure one with Skew. Skew, you get a group of friends going to someone's wedding on this really long road trip, and one of them finds that his camera can kind of predict the future a little bit, and there's signs in the video of like people's impending deaths and stuff. And this one also, like the cinematography and the color grade, it really does feel like old tapes, and the way the camera won't be focused on things perfectly. Really good grungy cinematography. The problem is the writing does get kind of secular, like, you know, they repeatedly say, hey, stop filming me, or they talk about like what's the deal with the cameraman and his girlfriend who's not on the trip, and every now and then things like the ghost. Yeah, some of the scares they don't have the budget for, and there are some weird low budget moments in this movie, so it doesn't pan out the best, but I do like a most unusual camera found footage type deal, so it's got its moments, but it's not perfect. And hey, a former Blockbuster case there. Moving right along, this one's actually kind of important. The Amityville Haunting. This is from the Asylum, who you guys know for things like Sharknado. They do a bunch of low budget stuff, but this one, they figured out that Amityville being a real town, anyone can set their movie there, so they made the Amityville Haunting instead of the Amityville Horror, and this is the one that inspired all those Amityville knockoffs later on, and yeah, that's like 40 plus by this point. But this one is a fine enough little found footage movie. You get the footage from the son's perspective, and I do like how he's like sneaking around when he's not supposed to be recording, and there's goofy moments, like most of the deaths are pretty silly, and the dad does get a little over the top and extreme and a little bit crazy here. Again, it's kind of cheesy and not the best, but it's not terrible, and it is funny to see how big an impact this had when everybody started making their own Amityville movies later. So yeah, a very influential mockbuster. Has its moments, but isn't terrifying or anything like that. After that, here's a fun one. Followed, we get a group of internet streamers, and they're going to a hotel that's very much like the Cecil Hotel, you know, that whole Eliza Lamb story, and they find that this version of Eliza Lamb had actually done this elevator ritual. So they go to the hotel, which is still operational, they film the ritual, and of course they try to sneak around the hotel and see all the cool places, and they start to get haunted. There's a fun bit where like they have the editor in another room trying to edit this as fast as she can, and she's like isolated and going crazy by herself, and I have to say this is a really fun cover image too. Overall, it's not the best. I think it kind of, you know, the scares jump to a good midpoint and then kind of just stay there, and I wish it was a little scarier and a little better, because I do like the concept. I find the lore of the Cecil Hotel fascinating, so to do a movie inspired by that is pretty cool. And there's the disc, pretty simple. I don't know why Echo Bridge does these barcodes. But let's move on to another Echo Bridge one. And this one is Lord, and you got these fish hooks there, and you got normal girl and creepy ghost girl, and this is not a fishing movie. Well, it's about a different kind of fishing. You get this girl who meets someone in online dating, invites him back to her country, and I don't think they ever say what. It's an Asian country, but I don't think they ever say which country it is. But she's living in a real, like, village, like a real old village, and that's the biggest pro with this movie. The setting is really good, and I really love to see this setting. Overall, though, the scares aren't great, and it kind of feels like Awkward First Date the movie, but it is worth it just to see the village that they shot in. And yeah, the graphic designer for this DVD really went all out on the back there, huh? And there's the disc, same as the front, with the Echo Bridge barcode. Yeah, not the best ever, but an interesting B-side. Alright, that's 19, so let's do one more. Here's one I found from Wild Eye that I didn't know anything about, and that's The Devil's Well. And you get this guy, he's a ghost hunter, and there's a well that's said to be a portal to hell, and they've built a building over it, so it's in this creepy basement. Well, his wife goes missing, and you get like the first third of this movie being like a mockumentary about her missing case and how people think he secretly did it, but he's like, no, she's out there somewhere and I just don't know where. And to be fair, a third of the movie doing this segment, it does go on a little bit long, but then they do the ghost hunting sequence, and this other crew is like, we're gonna help prove your innocence, but some of the people they hired don't believe him, and some of them don't even believe in ghosts. And you can tell, like, with the first act being that mockumentary, that it's a pretty rigid 3-act structure, and you know you're not gonna see anything till like the end. It's an okay ghost hunting movie. It's not the best thing ever, but again, it's a fun little B-side, so if you can find it and you're a found footage junkie, worth checking out. Again, not great. And another former rental there. Alright, so that's our first 20 items. This is Found Footage Collection Part 1, and I have to say some good stuff in there. I try to give you guys, you know, some really big titles with Blair Witch and Paranormal, as well as some ones with cult followings, and I try to throw in a few smaller ones as well, and I'll be doing that probably for the other parts of the series. Like I said, really fun revisiting these films, and this is one of my favorite collections, and I have a whole bunch more to go, so I hope to get to part 2 really soon. But anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. That really does help the channel out. Anyway, I'm gonna put a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my found footage playlist, and I should have individual reviews for all these movies if you want to see my more in-depth thoughts. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.